Greetings and salutations, Dave, or I guess technically I should call you Dead on Dave. This is Christopher Daniels.
Hey everyone, it's the Native American Tonka. Want to give a big shout out to Dead on Dave.
Dave, this is Leon White, Big Van Vader.
Dead on Dave. What's up, man? It's the coach.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and I know when I want to keep up with the latest in wrestling news from around the world, I check in with Dead on Dave Productions. He covers a wide variety of wrestling topics, including the career of the hardcore legend. Don't miss it. Dead on Productions. Yeah.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Dead on Dave, and we are here because Monday night was an extraordinary night of wrestling, man. Monday Night Raw was really good because it told one cohesive story throughout the entire night, and of course, culminating in an event that people are going to talk about for a long time, especially depending on what happens from here on out. And all these questions are being asked. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it the same old shit? Was it a new take on an old concept? Is it going to make Kevin Owens? Is it going to break Kevin Owens? Does it even involve Kevin Owens? Is it Triple H just putting himself in the spotlight once again? Well, all of these questions are valid, and all of these questions are, make a lot of sense to be asked. So what I thought would be a really good idea is to simply go through everything that happened in those last 6 minutes of this main event and just break it down. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, man. First off, man, the Fatal 4-Way had an incredibly good long stretch where all four men were in the match. One of the things that made this match work and why turning it into an elimination match was, in the first place, turned out to be a right move, aside from just setting up the ending, of course, Cass didn't feel like an afterthought. And he could have easily. Had it been a regular match, more than likely, Cass would have eaten the pin, and that would have been the end of it, and he would have felt like an afterthought. But he didn't. He didn't feel like an afterthought. In fact, he felt like a wrecking machine early on. He was matched up with everybody in the match, and he hit huge moves on every opponent. His elimination ended up having meaning because of his performance within the match, and it really seemed to drive the importance of it home, that even a guy like Cass, a guy who's new, a guy who, really hasn't earned any big spot yet, he could have a big impact, and he really seemed to push everybody forward. So it was a really good way to start the whole night. When it became a three-way, the match changed completely. It turned to high drama. Finn Balor dropping that newly minted belt really added to the importance of the entire fight. It really felt like these guys were going for it. And not only going for it, they were going for a title that mattered. Finn Balor being the first champion for that belt was actually a really good move. I mean, could they have put it on someone a little bit more established, like a Cena? Yes, but because it's the new era, it feels bigger because the first guy was a change in direction. And Finn Balor is, and has been for a long time, in the top 20 of anybody's list for wrestlers on this planet. So it's not like he was a bad move for that. But him losing it and dropping it due to injury seemed to just make it feel a little bit more important, if that makes sense. Of course, the big elephant in the room is the finish. So let's really get into that. And for that, we go to the final 6 minutes of Monday Night Raw. Now, I highly recommend you guys all go back and watch those last 6 minutes. Hell, watch the entire match. But really go back and watch those 6 minutes because so much happened. So let's get right into it. It all starts when Roman Reigns is on the outside of the ring and he hits big punches. He hits a huge Superman punch on Kevin Owens and then punctuates that with a spear onto Seth Rollins in front of Stephanie and Foley, which was the first point of significance for me and an indication that the storyline booking has changed, like the whole thought process. In the past, under the Authority storyline, Steph would have played a bigger role here, a much larger role, and if there was any life or link between the ending and the Authority story, it would have been easy to show right here. All that would have had to be done is Stephanie moving in the way slightly, saying something, gesturing, anything like that. But that didn't happen. Instead, both Hurt and Foley got the heck up out of Dodge, which to me is a clear indication that although Steph's power will always be a factor, the authority angle is dead. There's more evidence to that in a little bit, and we'll get into that in a moment. Right after the spear on Rollins, all hell breaks loose as the game, pun intended, really begins. Everything goes crazy after this point. Roman is about to put Rollins back into the ring when the crowd erupts and Triple H appears from behind him. Beautiful use of the camera right here. The placement of it was really nice effect. Triple H came out of the crowd, which I really think in and of itself potentially holds significance. It could have been the music, and they could have went for that big showy display that they would have used just a year ago when it came to Triple H. But the fact that they didn't make a big deal of his return as far as a grandiose manner could mean that there's a significant change in his character. I thought that was interesting. The first person that Triple H hits is, of course, Roman Reigns, and it accomplishes quite a few things. Quite a few things. And this is the first event to offer booking possibilities. Triple H hitting Roman could be used as a new jumping off point for their feud that seemingly ended at WrestleMania when Roman took the belt off of Hunter. So Roman becoming the first victim of the returning former champion could easily be explained right there, and had Triple H left after that attack, I think it would have held true. But it was only the beginning. There was more to come from that. But he could have just left or beat down Roman more. He could have made it about Roman, but he didn't. Instead, he lugs Roman into the ring and then grabs Rollins, and they have a point of connection. Their eyes meet, and they lock, and Triple H screams for him to get back in the ring, and to which Seth hops right in and pins Roman Reigns, much to the delight of the crowd. So we got a really nice pop moment there, and it holds significance because it really seems like we're going back to the same old, same old. Again, though, back to the last point, if this was solely about Roman Reigns, which it could have easily have been, Triple H beating down Roman would have been the order of the day, would have been the route to go. But instead, Triple H just pulls Roman out of the ring, dumping him on the floor as if he's an afterthought. That was interesting. That holds significance. He wasn't shown again. He didn't matter. He didn't have a spot at the end of the match where he hit anybody. He didn't attack Triple H afterwards. Nothing happened. He was an afterthought. He was a device to move the match forward and nothing more. So it's potential that there's not going to be much between those two. Moving forward, then Hunter then strides to the other side of the ring without missing a beat and grabs Kevin Owens. And he does so in an aggressive manner. It allows him to not only put him back in the ring, but relay the finish to him. Yes, I think Kevin Owens only learned what was going to happen for the finish at that moment. I think it was a genuine shock. I think that they meant to do that. Of course, they said, okay, look, wrestle your match, get ready to this point, and then Triple H is going to come down and he's going to tell you what's going to happen. I think that's how it was relayed. Nobody knew exactly who the winner was going to be. In my opinion, that would have been the smart way to go, and I think that that might be what they did. So Triple H puts him in the ring. Trips then heads back over to Rollins and taps him on the back of the head, and while removing his jacket, and that all too familiar grin starts creeping across Seth's face. The crowd reacts by booing because just the tease of the authority continuance and thus the status quo really was effective. It was enough to get that bile in your gullet rising. Even though the true motives were already sniffed out by a lot of wrestling fans. I think a lot of us watching kind of already had an idea of where this was actually headed, but just the idea of a full-blown authority, once again, makes you queasy. Just think about it. The images of J&J Security and Corporate Kane are darting through your mind right now, and it's making you want to vomit right out of your bungus. Seth then just follows Triple H, limps over to he and Kevin Owens, and that is when Triple H spins around, kicks Seth in the gut, and locks him in the pedigree. It's also of significance that he hits the very same move that was passed on to Seth by Triple H. At this moment, he deliberately turns and stares at Kevin Owens right in his eyes for a good 5 seconds and shares a slight nod right before he plants Rollins in the center of the ring, right into the ground. And that gives us our second potential booking option going forward, as this enters the thought that what this is all about, turning on Seth. Now, this thought excites people because not only does it fully bury the previous authority angle, but it also sets up a move that people have been wanting for a really long time, and that is the full-blown Seth face turn. Seth's potential as the top face in the company has been a topic of discussion for a very long time. And with this move, they seemingly have opened the door to that possibility. And I think that gets people very excited, as it should be. And again, if this were Triple H's sole motivation, turning on Seth, then walking out would have been the move to punctuate that. But that's not what happened. Instead, Kevin Owens stares up at Triple H, shocked, and darts his head back and forth between the game and the now prone on his back Rollins. He does it several times to give this wonderful visible thought processing of this situation. He then pins Seth for the oh so satisfying pin and just sends the crowd over the moon as he wins the Universal Championship. Again, the story doesn't end here, as KO stares at Triple H, still trying to figure out exactly what just happened. Hunter slides outside of the ring and emphatically rips the title off an obviously upset Mick Foley, with Steph well in the background with her mouth wide open. They were shocked. They were upset, and this was beautifully set up. Yet another booking possibility going forward. And it lends to the thought that maybe this was personal and nothing more. Perhaps this was simply all about Triple H versus the Raw management team, either out of anger for not being appointed GM or flat out power move to seize control of Raw. There is a possibility that that is what's happening, and it's a separate storyline from everything else. But we don't have too much time to put a lot of thought into that, because Triple H goes right back into the ring, extends a hand to Kevin Owens, and helps him to his feet before placing the belt into his very, very eager hands. Triple H stares at Kevin Owens intensely before raising his hand amid an ecstatic crowd. He then cues him to various celebration poses in the ring, all while pointing and gesturing at KO before embracing him very hard around the head, and as if he was saying, you know, that you are the correct direction. You are the guy. And it was with those actions that he presented yet another storyline opportunity, actually too, really, when you think about it. Could this just be about Triple H picking his guy from NXT and helping truly create the new era, as it really hasn't been a new era to this point? Maybe Triple H as a face is making good on that promise. Or, and this is the thinnest of all theories, of course, maybe this is the beginning of an NXT invasion angle. And I think that's the thinnest and less likely of all booking options, so I highly doubt it. But it is possible due to the really ambiguous nature of these events. We're not done yet, though. More happen. Triple H then leaves the ring and gets right in Foley's face. I mean, nose to nose, right in his face, before exiting through the crowd, walking right past Stephanie. Doesn't even give her a second look. Her and Mick look on as Hunter leaves, both visibly confused and angry at what just happened, which leads me to believe that one theory truly stands out above all others. This is personal. This is about Steph, Mick, and Triple H. And that's exciting because it opens up the door to many different things. The big question is, where do we go from here? Obviously, Raw next week will be about explanations, as we are still a few weeks from Raw's first pay-per-view, Clash of the Champions. Now, does Triple H fight again, or does he use Kevin Owens as a champion? Everyone has a bone to pick with Triple H right now. Does this lead to a Triple H, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns match? Does Triple H fight both individually? If only one, which one makes more sense, Seth or Roman? Does Seth begin his ascent to the face side? Is it fast? Is it gradual? Do they link him back with Roman in some way? Where does this leave Kevin Owens and his story with Chris Jericho? Because if they wanted to, they could easily tell two completely separated stories here because those points when Kevin Owens and Triple H embrace, it could have been also construed as a here you go, now you're on your own move. They've built a story already with Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. In fact, Chris Jericho tweeted out afterwards that congratulations to my best friend Kevin Owens for his win. We are going to make a great champion. So this could easily be leading to a story that could play out to that ends with a match between those two at Clash of the Champions. There's still enough time to get to that story by Clash of the Champions. Now that's a really bold move and a possible sign that they have the utmost confidence in Kevin Owens to let him stand on his own. Chris Jericho is certainly the right guy for him to do that with. So it makes an awful lot of sense if that is indeed the plan. That allows them to fill up all the wrestling time that you have with Raw, which is a lot, with two major storylines. One with the title, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, maybe add a third to that mix. Sami Zayn, if they want, they can always go back to Sami Zayn. And they can let that story be told and just let Kevin Owens really control that momentum. It's a little risky, but it's easily doable because at the same time you have the Triple H storyline, whether it be an invasion, whether it be personal, whether it be a way to put Seth Rollins over as a face, whether it is a way to solidify Seth Rollins as a heel and Triple H go face. It could even be a continuation of Triple H and Roman Reigns, but that seems very unlikely because people are still happy that Triple H is planting Roman Reigns. So it's more likely that Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins can unite. There are so many possibilities, and that's why Raw was such a success. That's why it was so amazing. That's why it's one of my favorite things that Raw has done from a creative standpoint in a very long time. I thought it was impeccably done. They gave us a whole bunch of moments throughout the show, throughout the final 6 minutes, really, to just leave you wondering. And there were so many things. So I really wanted to highlight each individual booking possibility because there's so many. And there's more, I'm sure, than I even just got to. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Where do you see this going? I want to hear from you. Hit me up in the comments section or on Twitter at DeadOnDaveV. I want to hear from you guys. Thank you very much for joining me right here on Dead on Dave Productions. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And we got a lot of stuff happening this weekend. We got the fantasy football draft. We got interviews. I'm going to be filming more random fives. We got so much going on. So I'm very excited about that. Hope you guys are too. Like, subscribe, and share. We're over 2,900. Thank you for that. 2,900 subscribers. Thank you for getting us there. Let's get to 3,000. Maybe by the end of this weekend if you guys really push it for me. I really do appreciate it. So like, subscribe, and share. And as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. We'll see you next time. Keep it copious, folks. Peace.